In the land of Hyrule there echoes a legend held dearly by the royal family that tells of a boy who, after battling evil and saving Hyrule, crept away from the land that had made him a legend. Done with the battles he once waged across time, he embarked on a journey, a secret and personal journey, a journey in search of a beloved and invaluable friend, a friend with whom he parted ways when he finally fulfilled his heroic destiny and took his place among legends. The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask had an unenviable task. It had to follow up Ocarina of Time, a game that many consider to be the greatest of all time. To this day, The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time is the highest rated game on Metacritic, with an almost perfect score of 99. It's a truly legendary game that deserves its reputation. After the release of Ocarina and its immense success, Nintendo wanted to strike again while the iron was hot. Originally, the Zelda team was tasked with creating a remixed version of Ocarina of Time, keeping the game the same, but altering the dungeons to make them more difficult. The leader of this team, dungeon designer for Ocarina of Time Eiji Aonuma, was not satisfied with this plan, so he voiced his concerns to Shigeru Miyamoto, the creator of the Zelda series. When he approached Miyamoto made him an offer. Aonuma would not have to continue working on the remix Ocarina of Time. Instead, they would create an all-new original game using Ocarina of Time's assets and game engine. However, there was one condition. The team would only have 1 year to produce the game. Faced with their new challenge, Aonuma and his team set out to develop a game that could rival Ocarina of Time in 1 year, a seemingly impossible task. But you know what? Not only did they create a game capable of standing toe-to-toe with the Legend of Ocarina of Time, in my opinion, they created a game that surpassed it. In my opinion, Majora's Mask is the superior N64 Zelda game. In fact, Majora's Mask is my favorite video game of all time. Now, before you grab your torches and pitchforks, hear me out. The rushed development of Majora's Mask made it necessary for the production team to get creative. There wasn't enough time to create another epic adventure like Ocarina of Time. Instead, they decided to make a more introspective story. The world of Majora's Mask is dire and hopeless. You play as Link, a child thrown into a strange liminal world that mirrors his own. As you begin the game, you discover that within 3 days' time, the moon is going to fall and kill everyone in the bizarre world of Termina. It's your job to stop this apocalypse from coming to pass. This mission and the ticking timer of the 3-day cycle create a palpable sense of dread and hopelessness for the player. This hopelessness creates a unique and compelling atmosphere, which helps to punctuate the underlying theme of Majora's Mask. That theme being the pain and struggle that comes with growing up. Within the game, we see Link being confronted with some of the different aspects of growing up that he was robbed of because of his adventures in Ocarina of Time. While on the surface, the game's just another save-the-world adventure, I think there's more to it than that. I think that there are some deeper, more resonant themes here. I think Majora's Mask could be viewed as the story of Link grieving his lost childhood and learning to accept the new world that he finds himself in. I know that alternate readings of Majora's Mask are everywhere on the internet. Chief among these, probably the theory that Link is dead for the entirety of Majora's Mask, and that Termina is a manifestation of his grief. While I actually really like this theory on paper, I just want to be clear here. I don't think that Link is dead in Majora's Mask or anything like that. However, as we will get into, the world of Termina is a strange place. Everyone within it has a parallel in Hyrule. While we know that in the real world, this was because of the rushed development, I think it does have interesting implications within the world of the game. I'm personally really fascinated by the idea that Termina is a manifestation of Link's mind. And whether or not this is true in reality, for the sake of this video, let's all imagine that it is. Because if we do, I think we'll find a beautiful story of self-discovery within. Now, to give some context for those who may not be familiar with this game, Majora's Mask is a direct sequel to Ocarina of Time. Ocarina begins in Kokiri Forest, a small village inhabited by the Kokiri, a race of children who never grow up. Link is different from all the other children, being the only one without a fairy. This all changes one day when the guardian spirit of the Kokiri Forest, the Great Deku Tree, entrusts the fairy Navi with the task of being Link's partner. The Deku Tree entrusts the pair with the task of stopping the rise of the evil Ganondorf. The moment that Link receives his fairy and begins his journey, he begins the process of growing up. This is most evident in the fact that Link is literally forced to grow up fast in Ocarina of Time. To very briefly summarize, after opening a sealed chamber that supposedly would allow him and the Princess Zelda to stop Ganondorf's plan, Link draws the Master Sword, the legendary sword of Evil's Bane. When he does that, he allows Ganondorf to seize the ancient power slumbering within the chamber, unintentionally causing Ganondorf's rise to power and the subsequent destruction of the land of Hyrule. Link is transported to a strange world where he's kept in stasis for 7 years until he's old enough to wield the Master Sword. After these 7 years, Link, now an adult, successfully defeats Ganondorf. After this, he's returned to his original time, and the game ends with Link returning the Master Sword, and Navi flying away, as Link no longer needs her as a guide. Majora's Mask picks up directly after Ocarina, with Link traveling through the Lost Woods, searching for a valuable friend, that friend being Navi. Unlike in Ocarina of Time, you begin your journey alone, just you and your horse Epona wandering through the woods hoping to find your friend, the one person who really understands the wild journey that you embarked on in Ocarina of Time. Even without any dialogue, we can feel the sadness and loneliness in Link, the longing for his friend Navi. This feeling is critical to Majora's Mask as a whole. To bring things back to our thesis, loneliness and a feeling of being lost are incredibly common amongst those entering adulthood. As children, we all long to be adults to some extent. We want the freedom to do whatever we want, even if that thing is as simple as going to bed at 9 o'clock instead of 8. But all of that freedom can come at a price, because with freedom comes responsibility. Sure, we can watch R-rated movies and drink beer, but we also have to find a full-time job and pay taxes. Instead of worrying about homework and whether Jessica from science class has a crush on you, you have to worry about paying your rent and getting that promotion at work. With all this newfound stress, we can lose track of other aspects of our lives. Unfortunately, one of those aspects for many of us is friendships and relationships. According to a study published in the National Library of Medicine, loneliness is most prevalent among young adults between the ages of 18 and 24. There are many different models and explanations for this, as well as many different types of loneliness. There's social loneliness, which stems from a lack of social connections, and there's emotional loneliness, which can stem from the feeling that the connections that we do have are lacking in some way. This study found that one significant cause of these feelings is major life transitions, including educational, employment, and household changes. The highest proportion of young adults who reported feeling intense loneliness were found to have just left home, began a new job, or started a new phase of their education. These changes and transitions can cause immense stress and put a lot of pressure on a person. And unfortunately, when the weight of the world is on your shoulders, it can be hard to focus on anything or anyone but that weight. Because if you do, you might just get crushed. Entering a new phase in your life can be difficult. There are so many more things to worry about now, and it's harder to find time for people as an adult. It's not like when we were kids and we could just walk across the street to our friend's house and ask their mom if they could come outside and play for an hour. We have to plan ahead, and that's not as easy as it may sound. It's not just that there's more stress, it's new and unfamiliar challenges you have to learn to deal with. As children, we make most of our friends in school or in extracurricular activities. Human beings bond through shared experiences, but when we become adults, we don't necessarily share those same experiences anymore. Although we may be experiencing the same transitions as many of the people that we grew up around, we're experiencing them in different ways, and that can make it difficult to relate to the people we used to know. It's like a tree. We all start from a seed and we grow up together in a similar way. Now, things aren't uniform. There are some knots and rotten parts, and some parts are a little smoother and more polished than others, but on the whole, the trunk is the same throughout. However, once the tree grows tall enough, parts begin to branch off. Even though they all started from the same place, the tree begins to grow in separate directions. Some branches stay close together, continue to grow near each other. Others grow separately, away from the rest of the tree that it had always been a part of. Every branch is still a part of the tree, and there will always be a connection, but as the tree keeps growing, the branches continue to extend in their own direction. This disconnect can really take a toll on a person. While the transition that Link was forced to undergo is bit more dramatic than what the average person will experience in our young adulthood, I think that this disconnect is something that we can see and experience in Majora's Mask. Link begins the game by slinking away from the land of Hyrule several months after the end of Ocarina of Time. This Link may inhabit the body of a child, but he retains all of his memories from his time as an adult in Ocarina. Now let's be frank, the events of Ocarina of Time must have been traumatic for Link. Being forced to grow up almost instantaneously would take a toll on someone. Imagine yourself being back in middle school with your childhood friends. One night, you go to sleep after an especially intense game of Mario Party with your friends. You just managed to pull it out and win, but it was intense. Still riding high off the adrenaline of that stressful game, you slowly drift to sleep. The next day, you wake up in a body that's not your own. Except it is. You find that you're a grown adult. Still reeling from these strange events, you get a call on what you imagine is your cell phone. An angry man asks you where you are and says that you're late, that you were supposed to be at the hospital a half hour ago. Not knowing what else to do, you make your way to the hospital a few blocks away from your apartment. As you walk in, a team of people grab you and drag you into a room. They help you wash your hands and put on your gear. You try to explain that you're not who they think you are, but before you know what's happening, they shove you into a new room. A woman lies on a table, prepped for surgery. As you approach, a nurse wheels over a table of tools and asks if you're ready. Everyone looks at you, waiting, and that's when it hits you. You're meant to save this woman. You, a child in middle school, hold the power of life and death in your hands. As terror fills you, you reach out and grab your tools. At night, you lay in bed, your mind racing over the events of the day and the horrifying responsibility that you were forced to confront. Eventually, you fall into an uneasy sleep. You wake up the next morning in a familiar place. You're back in your room, but it's different. The colors are duller. Your posters don't bring you the same joy they did before. You go to school and your friend Ryan asks you if you want to play another game of Mario Party tonight. You look at him, smiling the innocent smile of a child who hasn't just seen how terrifying the world can be. As you look at him, you realize that you aren't you anymore. At least, not the you were yesterday. Physically, you're the same, except now you know what it feels like to have true responsibility. Something your friends and the other people around you won't understand for decades to come. How could you possibly just go back to the way things were after living through what you just did? This horrifying reality is the one that Link exists in. Over a short period of time, Link was forced to leave his home, become an adult, and save the world and everyone that he knows and loves. And after all that, he was sent back to his own time to continue his life as if none of this had ever happened. It makes sense that he would struggle to adapt to his old world with the new perspective that he has. He's been forced to stand face to face with the end of the world. To make things worse, he has no one around him who can understand what he just went through. None of them had to live through it thanks to Link's actions. Navi is the only person who accompanied Link along his entire journey at Ocarina of Time. Of everyone in his life, Navi is the only one who truly understands what he went through. But she's gone. She left, the one person who he might be able to lean on during this period of intense transition. In a sense, Link lost his childhood. It was taken from him and he's trying to reclaim it by slipping away from the world he knew and finding Navi. But as we see, he doesn't find her. Instead, he finds the world of Termina, a strange world that resembles the one he knows, but it's different. I think this is how many young adults view their world. It may look like what they've always known, but it feels off. But as scary as it may be, we can't change this. Instead, we have to push forward and see what this new world has in store for us. After an encounter with the mischievous forest child Skull Kid, in which he's transformed into a small Deku Scrub, Link is transported to the world of Termina, a strange alternate world filled with people who look just like the citizens of Hyrule that Link met in his past adventure. You arrive in Clock Town, the central hub of Termina named after the massive clock that rises above the town. A strange man confronts you and explains that a mask of his was stolen by a mischievous imp, and that he can help you return to your true form if you recover this mask. While struggling to adjust to the strange world in your new form, you make the horrifying discovery that the moon is plummeting to Earth, and you have 3 days to stop it. If you can't rise to the occasion, you and everyone else in this land will be forced to meet a terrible fate. Eventually, after a confrontation with the Skull Kid wearing the stolen mask, you find out there are 4 giants, guardian spirits that reside to the north, south, east, and west of Clocktown. During the struggle, Skull Kid drops the Ocarina of Time, a powerful relic from Link's previous adventure. After remembering a song that the Princess Zelda taught him, Link, knowing that the moon is moments from crashing, plays it. The song and the power of the Ocarina manage to return him to the start of the 3-day cycle. He's returned to his human form, and tasked with stopping Skull Kid and recovering the mask by awakening and summoning the 4 giants. Together, they may be able to stop the moon before it falls. With his task laid out before him, he sets out on his new journey. The chaotic and confusing introduction of Majora's Mask mirrors the sense of listlessness and loss of control that comes with adulthood. As children, most of us have someone to guide us, someone that we rely on to protect and care for us. So when you're separated from that support system, and you're given the true freedom that comes with adulthood, it's easy to feel directionless. We have to find our new support systems, which typically take the form of friends and partners. Unfortunately for him, however, Link doesn't have that yet. He's alone in a wholly new place. But despite the chaos around him, Link embarks on his journey, recognizing that there's nothing to do but keep moving forward. Link's first destination is the Southern Swamp. The swamp is an odd place, inhabited by a pair of witches, a civilization of Deku scrubs, and a group of intelligent monkeys. The waters of the swamp have grown purple and toxic, corrupted by some unknown force. The main conflict in the Southern Swamp surrounds the king of the Deku scrubs and his daughter, the princess. When you first enter the Deku Palace, you can speak with the Deku King, who tells you that you're just in time to witness the execution of one of the monkeys from the forest. He claims that the monkey kidnapped the Deku Princess, and he plans to put him to death. If you look around, you'll find a monkey tied to a stake in the ground in a cage next to the Deku King. By sneaking through the palace and speaking with the monkey, you will discover that it was investigating the poison water of the swamp. It needed the princess to enter Woodfall Temple, the source of the swamp's water, to find out what was causing the corruption. The monkey escorted her, but she was captured by Odalwa, the evil force responsible for the current state of the swamp. When the king discovered that she was missing, he blindly assumed that the monkey had kidnapped her and ordered him arrested. The monkey will teach Link a song known only to the Deku royal family that will allow him to open the way to Woodfall Temple. When the Deku King hears that song, instead of assuming the Deku Princess was his partner and taught him the song to assist him, he takes it as proof of the monkey's betrayal and speeds up his execution. From here, Link enters Woodfall Temple and defeats the evil spirit inhabiting it, freeing both the giant spirit and the princess that was being held captive. When you bring the princess home, she chastises her father for his rashness, punishing the monkey and his overprotectiveness towards her. The story of the Deku King and the princess is a familiar one. The story of an overprotective parent taking things too far to protect their child, and a child pushing back against them. The Deku Princess is no longer a child. She's an adult who feels a responsibility to her people. When the swamp became corrupted, it was her, not her father, who decided that something had to be done. She went behind her father's back to investigate Woodfall Temple. She's beginning to become an independent adult, and the Deku King is not ready for it. While his reaction was rash, in his mind, he was doing what he must to protect his little girl. However, he is blinded by his overprotectiveness. When presented with evidence that could reasonably exonerate the monkey, he instead doubles down, expediting the monkey's demise. He's consumed by his rage and protectiveness to the point that he doesn't even try to hear the monkey out. If he had simply listened, he would not only learn the fate of his daughter, but he would learn about how to fix the poisoned waters of the swamp in which he and his people reside. It's not until the princess has returned safely and she scolds him for his actions that he finally begins to understand that she is not that little girl anymore, and loosens up a bit. The Deku King must learn to let go, and give his daughter space to grow into her own person, an adult capable of doing things on their own without the protection of their parents. Stepping out from our parents' shadow and becoming our own person is crucial for moving into adulthood. Whether it be developing our own beliefs, or physically separating ourselves from our parents by moving out of their home, that separation from your parental unit is one of the first steps of becoming an adult. This phenomenon is called individualization. Individualization is the process by which we form our own identity separate from that of the people around us, whether that be our family, friends, or anyone else we choose to surround ourselves with. As children, we tend to adopt certain beliefs or traits from the people around us, especially our parents. But as we begin to grow older, we must begin to form our own identity outside of other people, which can often cause problems with parental figures. This is where the idea of the rebellious teenager comes from. As we begin to form opinions and beliefs that may conflict with the thoughts of our parents, it can cause tension, as exemplified by the conflict between the Deku King and the princess. While a confrontational relationship is never something to be wished for, setting healthy boundaries and becoming more independent are an important part of your development, even if it can be painful for all parties involved. Now, before we move forward, there's something important I'd like to discuss. As we'll see as we progress throughout the game, the theme of parenting and parent-child relationships continuously present themselves. If Termina reflects Link's journey to adulthood and him grieving his childhood, I think this is very interesting. Around the midpoint of Ocarina of Time, we learn more about Link and his backstory. More specifically, we get to learn more about his mother. When we return to the Kokiri Forest as an adult after cleansing the Forest Temple, we get the opportunity to speak to the Deku Sprout, a seedling that will grow to replace the great Deku Tree that was killed at the beginning of the game. The Sprout tells the story of how Link found his way to the Kokiri Forest. It is at this point that it's revealed that Link is not a Kokiri. He's in fact a Hylian, a normal human citizen of the Kingdom of Hyrule. Prior to the events of Ocarina of Time, the Kingdom of Hyrule was engulfed in a large-scale civil war. At some point during this conflict, Link's mother fled with her child to seek asylum in the Kokiri Forest. However, she was already mortally wounded. Sensing that her child had a great destiny before him, the Great Deku Tree decided to take the child in and raise him as a Kokiri. As such, Link never knew his mother, and grew up without parents, his only parental figure being the ancient Great Deku Tree. I think the repeated portrayals of a parent-child relationship stem from Link's desire to have that kind of relationship in his life, and the grief that he feels for not having it. This lack of a parental figure led to Link not being able to experience these developmental milestones that I've been outlining. In times of strife, we seek comfort from the people who care about us. For many of us, that's our parents or parental figures. From a young age, they're typically the people who care for and support us. For many, they're our main support systems, and the ones we feel we can fall back on when there's no one else there. This is not true for all, but it is true for many. Link never had that support system. His mother died when he was a child, and while the Great Deku Tree certainly seemed to care for Link, he was no substitute for a parent. We never get to hear Link speak, and we don't get to hear what he's thinking, but I think that it's reasonable to think that he would struggle with this, especially after learning the truth about his mother. If we view this story as the grieving of Link's childhood, I think that the Deku King and Princess represent what Link imagines a parental relationship should be like when you begin to become an adult. He never had a chance to rebel and assert himself as his own person. He was thrust into the role of hero without any say in the matter. He never had a chance to form and cement his own identity, but he gets to witness it through the Deku Princess standing up to her father and asserting her new identity. The next leg of Link's journey takes him to Snowhead, the home of the Gorons. What was once a lush mountaintop spring has become a frozen wasteland due to the interference of Skull Kid and Majora's Mask. Gorons have been forced to take refuge in a small inner sanctum in their city that's warm enough for them to survive. When you arrive at this shrine, all you can hear is the sound of a crying child. If you investigate, you'll find that the crying child is the son of the village elder. He's crying because his father left to investigate what has happened, and he has not returned. As you travel through the cold, you will find the boy's father frozen solid. If you thaw him out, he will teach you the first half of the lullaby that he would sing to the boy. Upon playing that song for the boy, he will be filled with memories of him and his father, finally soothing him to sleep. Personally, I think that this is the weakest plotline for the main quest line, both in terms of content and thematic resonance. Put simply, I think that it symbolizes the care and parental affection that Link was not able to receive. Affection is important as a child, as it is through these parental figures that we learn most of our socialization skills. These relationships are also where we develop our sense of self-worth. Children who are showered with love and affection will typically be more confident and self-assured than ones who are not. Link, as we have described, did not have a parental figure to show him affection, which which could have potentially had a negative impact on his self-worth. There's not much to dissect from the relationship between the Goron Elder and his son. Luckily, that's not the only plotline that the Gorons of Majora's Mask have. After undergoing a trial and finding the Lens of Truth, an item that allows you to see invisible objects, you'll notice that there's something watching you from afar. When you approach, you see what seems to be the ghost of a large Goron. If you follow it to the top of the frozen waterfall in the mountain village, you'll find the figure waiting for you, hovering above a massive headstone. The figure that has led you here begins to speak. He tells you his story, the story of the great Goron hero Darmani. When the Skull Kid arrived and brought the winds of winter with him, Darmani rose up to stop it. However, when he attempted to make his way to Snowhead Temple, the origin of the wind and snow, he was blown off the path, swept away by the vicious winds, to his death. Now, he's forced to wander the village that he used to call home, burdened by grief at his inability to protect his friends and family. To soothe his aching heart, Link decides to play the Song of Healing, the song that the Happy Mask Salesman taught him to return him to his true form at the beginning of the game. The Song of Healing is a song with the power to heal troubled spirits, and when Link plays it, something strange happens. Darmani experiences a vision of all the Gorons he failed to save, but instead of them grieving or being angry with his failure, they're celebrating, crowding around and cheering for their great hero Darmani. Darmani, at first confused by what he's seeing, slowly begins to accept the fact that his people's love and respect for him is not diminished after his death. Despite his failure, he is still, and always will be, the great hero of the Gorons. And then, he begins to cry. The spirit, healed, gives his power to Link in the form of a mask. With this gift, he also gives Link a task. Do what he could not and save his people. And Link, with the power that Darmani gifted him, manages to do just that. The story of Darmani is a great example of Majora's Mask's unique ability to make us relate to its characters and their problems. Even though Darmani only appears in the game for maybe 5 to 10 minutes, his story and his healing dream have stuck with me for years. I think this is because we get a chance to see how much Darmani and his actions affected the people around him, and how much they meant to him. We repeatedly hear about what a great hero Darmani was, and if you speak with the Gorons of Snowhead while wearing the Goron's mask, they'll react with reverence and respect for their hero. Being able to see firsthand how much of a hero this man was to his people is one thing, but being able to remind him of that fact after he's completely fallen to despair cements this as one of the most beautiful moments of Majora's Mask. But how does this relate back to Link's personal journey? Well, just like Darmani, Link is a hero to his people. He was able to save the land of Hyrule from Ganondorf. However, when he was sent back to his own time, none of that happened. In his own time, Link and Zelda were able to stop Ganondorf before he became a great threat. In the time in which he actually lived, he was no great hero, despite having all the memories of his struggle against Ganondorf. There must have been some level of disconnect between these realities for Link. In one world, he's the slayer of the Demon King Ganon, but in his own, he's just a boy who was able to help the princess tattle on some thief named Ganondorf. While the introduction of Majora's Mask seems to refute this by saying that the land of Hyrule made Link a legend, that doesn't seem to be the case. In the Hyrule Historia, Nintendo's official Zelda encyclopedia, there's a section on the hero's shade, a character from Twilight Princess. Twilight Princess takes place after Majora's Mask in the Zelda timeline, and the hero's shade is the spirit of the now-dead hero of time. The book says, quote, "Ever since returning to the child era, the swordsman has lamented the fact that he was not remembered as a hero." This is one of the very few canon looks into Link's mind and emotions, and it allows us to see just how difficult it was for Link to readjust to his new reality. While Link and Darmani's struggles are related and come from the same place, I think they're very different. While Darmani's struggles stem from not being able to rise to the challenge before him, Link is struggling with the perception of his adulthood not matching his expectation and his lived reality. He experienced an adulthood where he was a great hero who was loved and adored like Darmani. He succeeded where Darmani failed and stopped the forces of evil, saving his people and the land of Hyrule. but because he decides to help Zelda stop Ganondorf before he can reach those heights, that adulthood never comes to pass. He's fulfilled his destiny in a world that no longer exists to him, and in doing so, he made it impossible to fulfill it in his real world. He has his whole life ahead of him and knows that he's capable of great things, but he doesn't have a path forward. I think that Link feels a sense of responsibility to the people of Hyrule that he can no longer fulfill. I also think that he desires the love and adoration that he earned by defeating Ganon. I think that these two things are reflected in Darmani and his story. Responsibility is one of the most common themes that arises when discussing becoming an adult. In adulthood, there are greater expectations and more that needs to be done just to live. You have to buy food and maintain a job, and pay bills, and put more effort into trying to see friends and maintain relationships. It may seem like a lot, but not all responsibility is bad. There are some responsibilities that can even be exciting. For example, some people can't wait to be a parent and have the responsibility of a child. Most people have a dream job, something that they want to do with the rest of their lives, something they were born to do. This is a major commitment and comes with a lot of responsibility, but it also comes with something important: purpose. I think that the loss of his role as a hero and the responsibility that goes along with it deeply upset Link because he feels like he no longer has a purpose in life. Link was born to be a hero. He was chosen by the gods to be their champion, and although he may not have a say in the matter, he rose to the occasion. But after completing that mission, he loses that purpose. And so, with no great evil to defeat, he's left listless, unknown and unloved by his people. This is very similar to the position we find Darmani in when we meet him, a spirit haunted by his failures with no power and no purpose. But through the power of healing, Darmani is able to find acceptance in the fact that although he may have failed in his mission, he's still loved by the people around him, and things that he did are not forgotten. He's able to pass off the responsibility to Link, who's able to best the monster that lay deep within the Snow-Eyed Temple. However, unlike Darmani, Link isn't dead. Darmani had a lingering regret that he was able to resolve through Link, but Link has the opposite problem. He accomplished what he set out to do, but now he has his whole life ahead of him. And without the responsibility and purpose of being a hero, what does he have? Well, the answer lies in Darmani's dream. Despite his failure, despite the overwhelming grief and sadness, Darmani was able to see that, ultimately, it didn't matter. He was a hero to his people, even if he couldn't save the day. This realization is what allows Darmani to move on, content with himself and his place in the hearts of those he cares for. Likewise, even if Link can't save the day as he was supposed to, it doesn't mean that he's worth any less. Sure, he may feel directionless now, but things change. While Link may feel that he has no purpose now that his fight is over, I think that Darmani and his dreams show him a more optimistic perspective. Link is free from his destiny. He's accomplished what he was meant to do, and he has his whole life ahead of him. And now, his only path is forward. He has an opportunity to change course and find something new. Throughout the course of our lives, our plans change. When I was a kid, I wanted to be an astronaut. And then I reached middle school and decided that I wanted to be a lawyer. When I got to college, my plans changed again, and I decided that I wanted to pursue a career in counseling. And now, while I'm going through the process of making that happen, I'm here, making this video for all of you. Life is funny. You never truly know where it will lead you. And it can be hard. Leaving behind something that you've dedicated so much time and energy to can feel like failure. This simply isn't true. Change is a part of growing up. And this is what Link learns from Darmani as he gives the young hero his power. In your darkest moments, the moments where you feel lost and confused, completely directionless, there's always a path forward. The only person who can give you purpose is you. And as we see in Twilight Princess, he does find his purpose, passing along his knowledge and skills to the Link of that game as the hero's shade. But that's not the story we're telling today. For now, with that valuable lesson and the weight of responsibility lifted from his shoulders, Link departs from the restored Snowhead Mountain. At this point, we've discussed about half of Link's adventure in the world of Termina, and we still have plenty to talk about. This video has grown from a small passion project to a massive undertaking, so I think this is a good place to pause for now. This is something that I've wanted to do for years. I grew up watching YouTube and admiring people who create content like this, so to finally be able to make a video of my own and put it out there, especially one about my favorite video game of all time, is truly a dream come true. Even if no one ever sees it, it's been an incredible experience and I'm so happy to have had it. And if you are hearing this, I just want to thank you so much for watching and listening. It really does mean a lot to me. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope to see you again when I tackle the second half of this journey.